Very good morning to everyone. So, the topic for today is basically I'm going to talk about coffee. And coffee, I say, is one of the most important beverages that you take every day because in it is the key to your health. Every sip of coffee can actually heal you. Now, if I have to give you an explanation about coffee, let's start with what coffee is all about. And now, before I start, I want to quote what Sheikh Abdul Al Qadir from the 16th century said in praise of coffee. He said, "Coffee is the common man's gold, and like gold, it brings to every man the feeling of luxury and nobility. Coffee differs from pure and gentle milk only in the taste and color. Take time in your preparation of coffee, and God will be with you and bless you and your table. Where coffee is served, there is grace and splendor, and friendship and happiness." And that's how important coffee was and is for the people who really value it. Do you know the three most commonly drunk beverages in the world? Yes, they are tea, cacao, and coffee. And in the same order, tea has a very long history of it being used as a beverage. It is said to be almost 5,000-year old history, and we have Chinese references of tea being used extensively. Tea spread across the globe. Cacao also was one of the most amazing beverages that people drank, and it was almost called as the beans of God. And we have this picture I am show you of the Aztec holding a cacao bean. So cacao was another beverage that was very popular. But somewhere in the list of beverages, a young beverage called coffee took over the market. It became suddenly so popular. Now it's like a global phenomena. People love to sip on this amazing drink. So where did it all begin? What's the history of coffee? So coffee history goes back to the country Ethiopia. Ethiopia has a legend about coffee. They say there is an ancient uh, legend of Ethiopia about a goat herder named Kaldi. He discovered that when his goats ate these berries, they were awake and alert all night long. This made him worry. And actually, that's when he took up these beans and he went to his local priest to find out if they were really safe. And the local priest then put them in fire to confirm if it was safe. And when he got a very nice aroma coming out of the beans, he said they are absolutely safe. And of course, they are divine too. That's how coffee became a part of the Ethiopian culture. Even today, from centuries, people actually have coffee ceremonies. Every guest that comes in is served coffee in a special way. Coffee is one of the most amazing things that people come together. It's a part of religion. Coffee gained its importance with the Arabs using it when they were traveling to keep themselves awake for prayers. It found a position in the Arabic culture as one of the most important beverages that they consumed because in Islam, consuming alcohol was prohibited. But here you're having a beverage which was not intoxicating but relaxing. And that's how coffee became a part of the religious segment. It became a part of a culture. And the Arabs then, with their religion, when they were spreading across the globe, they took their beverage to the globe. And that's how coffee spread to the world. And coffee is now almost in every part of the world. Everybody drink it. So what's great about coffee? Coffee is basically a shrub kind of a plant, um, and you have these coffee plantations, And when the coffee beans they grow, they are these, like if you see in the picture, they are red cherry colored beans. Before the beans comes the flower, and the aroma of the flowers is really amazing. It's so amazing that it definitely attracts a lot of bees around. And I was fortunate to experience myself in the coffee plantations how amazing the aroma of coffee flowers is. And that's the coffee beans are then taken out. As you see in the picture, the berries, they are then shelled out, the mucilage is taken out, the fruit body, and you get the green beans. And the green beans are then actually roasted, okay, either dried or but along with the beans, along with the fruit, or ripped up and then dried and roasted, and that's how you get coffee. So coffee is beans, the seeds of the coffee fruit. Uh, the main reason that we have this webinar is to discuss the health benefits of coffee. Are we really taking it wisely, and how can we make the maximum out of this coffee? Now, when you look at coffee, coffee has amazing health benefits. And here I'm going to share with you the 13 most amazing benefits of coffee. Coffee can improve energy and actually can make you feel more smarter. That's what probably it was used for. People use it for intellectual discussions. As far as I know, in UK, if you wanted to go out for a more intellectual discussion, you needed a pound, and you could go and visit a coffee shop, and there you could sit and discuss over a coffee things. So coffee definitely improves your energy levels. It makes you feel less tired. It contains a stimulant called as caffeine, which is actually the most commonly consumed psychoactive substance in the world, because coffee is the most consumed beverage in the world. Now, after you drink coffee, the caffeine is absorbed into the bloodstream. From the bloodstream, it travels to the brain. Now, in the brain, caffeine blocks an inhibitory neurotransmitter called as adenosine. When this happens, the amount of the other neurotransmitters like norepinephrine and dopamine actually increase. This leads to the enhanced firing up of neurons. That means enhanced activity of your brain. Now, there have been many controlled human trials to show how coffee improves the various aspects of brain functioning, especially your memory, your mood, vigilance, energy levels, your reaction times, and in general, your cognitive functioning. And this is really, really useful, because this is why we need to sip our brewed coffee every time, every day, because that's how we will be always alert. So, bottom line, because of the caffeine that is there in the coffee beans, are neurotransmitters that actually inhibit the functions, of or makes us more sluggish, is now activated again, and this improves your energy levels, your mood, and various other functions. So sip a coffee when you're feeling low, tired, fatigued. Go ahead and sip a nice hot coffee. The second benefit of coffee is that it can help you burn your fat. And we now know obesity is almost like a pandemic spread across the globe. And here you have to be, aware that the coffee beans. Now people are talking about the green coffee beans and even the roasted coffee beans, but here the caffeine is the main ingredient that actually helps in burning the fat. Now, caffeine is one of the very few natural substances that has the ability to burn fat. There have been several studies that have shown caffeine can boost your metabolic rate by 3 to 11%. And there are also other studies that have shown that after consuming caffeine, your burning of fat is much more higher. So almost 10% in obese individuals, and 29% in lean people. Yeah. So however, it is possible that these effects will diminish. Means if you keep on continually drinking coffee, you get used to the caffeine effect, and then the percentage wide decrease. So bottom line is, because the caffeine is the fat burner inside your body, the more you take it, the more your fat burning happens. And there are many testimonials, especially from DX in coffee, that I have witnessed that after taking the DX in coffee, people have experienced weight loss, and that's a very good sign. Then we have caffeine that after weight loss, the third advantage we have with coffee is that the caffeine can drastically improve your physical performance. When I say caffeine, now understand, caffeine stimulates your nervous systems. Now that causes it to send signals to the fat cells to break down body fat. But caffeine also increases epinephrine, that's adrenaline levels in your blood. This is because adrenaline is a fight or flight hormone. It is designed to make your bodies ready for an intense physical exertion. Now, when you're working out, when you're in the gym, or you need extra physical power, caffeine helps in this case because it burns down your cells. It breaks it down, releasing the free fatty acids, which can be used now as fuels. Now, giving the effects of caffeine, it is not surprising to see that caffeine can improve your physical performance by almost 11 to 12% on average. Now, it makes sense to have a strong cup of coffee about a hour or half an hour before your gym, so that you have that extra energy, you have the improved physical performance, and you can now burn your burn more faster. Along with this, the fourth benefit of coffee is that there are essential nutrients in coffee. Coffee, if you look at it, when you brew it, it's dark black, so it definitely has a lot of nutrients. Now, many of the nutrients in the beans of coffee actually contain riboflavin, that's vitamin B2. It contains pantothenic acid, that's vitamin B5. It contains manganese and potassium, magnesium, niacin. The percentage is not too high, but because we sip in these coffee cups again and again, at least 4 to 5 cups in the whole day, we can reach the desired amount of the vitamins that we require from by intaking coffee. So we definitely tell people that you need to take a lot of coffee because that provides you with your nutrients. And we all know today vitamin deficiency has resulted into many problems, many conditions. And when you supply yourself with enough vitamins, basically the potassium, the magnesium, the niacin, the manganese, these basically will improve your nutritional value. The fifth benefit of coffee, health wise, is that coffee may lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. Now, that is really, really, really beneficial because type 2 diabetes is a gigantic health problem. And as we all know, currently it has almost 300 million people worldwide affected with type 2 diabetes. What happens in type 2 diabetes is that your elevated blood sugars in has gone up in context to the insulin that has to be secreted. So the insulin is secreted less and you have more sugar levels. So with time, your body cannot produce enough insulin. Now, studies have shown that people who drink the coffee, who drink most coffee, they basically have 23 to 50% lower risk of diabetes type 2. And one study has already shown a reduction of as much as 67% of those who drank the coffee, they were free from diabetes. Now, according to a massive review that was done with 18 studies with a total of almost around 4,57,922 individuals. Each daily cup of coffee was associated with 7% reduced risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So, if you have a family history of somebody suffering from type 2 diabetes in your family, then I would suggest, this is the best beverage that you should hook on so as to prevent any chances. Or if you have a lifestyle that leads into such condition, then you need to start sipping your coffee if you want to prevent those insulin shots in future. Now, the sixth benefit, the health benefit of coffee, is that coffee may protect you from Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And we now know that these are the most common neurodegenerative diseases, and they are the leading cause of dementia in the world. This disease usually affects people over 65 years of age. Unfortunately, there is no cure as such for Alzheimer's. However, there are several things you can do to prevent this disease from showing up in the first place, and this includes sipping your coffee, healthy eating lifestyle, exercising. This will really help in preventing this condition. There have been several studies that show that coffee drinkers have up to 65% lower risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. And here, that is the best thing. So, if you are a coffee drinker, be sure that you have a chance of not getting Alzheimer's. And that's a very debilitating condition where you lose all your memories. Okay. Let's go to the seventh benefit, health benefit of coffee. Caffeine within the coffee may lower the risk of Parkinson's. Now, Parkinson's disease is the second most common neurodegenerative disease, right after Alzheimer's. It is caused by the death of dopamine generating neurons in the brain. Same as with Alzheimer's, there is no known cure, which makes it that much more important to focus on prevention. There have been studies in which coffee drinkers have been found to have much lower risk of developing Parkinson's disease, with a reduction in the risk ranging from 32% to almost 60%. In this case, it appears to be caffeine itself that is causing the effect. People who drink decaffeinated, coffee don't have a lower risk of Parkinson's. So again, the active ingredient, caffeine, is the reason that you get the benefits of coffee. So Parkinson is really, really another debilitating condition that affects a major population now. Let's move on to the eighth benefit, the health benefit of coffee. There are many, but I've listed only 13 of them. The eighth one says that coffee appears to have a protective effect on the liver. We all know liver is an amazing organ that carries out hundreds of important functions in the body. There are common diseases that primarily affect the liver. They are namely hepatitis, fatty liver disease, and others. Many of these diseases can lead to a condition called cirrhosis, in which the liver has been largely replaced by scarred tissue. It turns out that coffee may protect against cirrhosis. So people who are having a family history or who are alcoholics, who are prone for liver disease, here you have a beverage that can really help you. People who drink 4 or more cups per day have up to 80% lower risk of developing a liver condition. So bottom line, coffee drinkers have much lower risk of developing cirrhosis than the others. And that is why I always suggest coffee is the only beverage that can really, really help to rejuvenate yourself. Let's go to the ninth benefit of coffee that says coffee can fight depression, make you happier. Depression is a serious mental disorder that causes a significantly reduced quality of life, and it's incredibly common now. And about 4.51% of the people in the United States currently meet the criteria for clinical depression. There was a Harvard study published in 2011 which said that women who drank 4 or more cups per day had a 20% lower risk of becoming depressed. There was another study done with 208 to 2 lakh 8,424 individuals. And it was found that those who drank 4 or more cups per day were 53% less likely to commit suicide. And this is a really, worth information. It's really worthy the information, because if you know somebody who is really depressed or psychologically stressed out, one thing you need to make him addicted to is coffee, so that he doesn't do something foolish like hanging himself up or doing something suicidal. Coffee is also benefited because it can prevent or lower the risk of some types of cancer. Now, cancer is one of the world's leading causes of death, and we all know it is characterized by the uncontrolled growth of cells in the body. Coffee appears to be protective against two types of cancers, primarily the liver cancer and the colorectal cancer. Liver cancer, for your information, is the third leading cause of cancer death in the world, while colorectal cancer ranks fourth. Studies show that coffee drinkers have up to 40% lower risk of liver cancer. One study of almost 5 lakh people was found that those who drank 4 to 5 cups of coffee per day had 15% lower risk of colorectal cancer. So again, the bottom line is, if you want to prevent any type of cancer, you need to sip your coffee. 11th benefit, health benefit of coffee, is that coffee does not cause heart disease, and instead it may help you lower the risk of stroke. Because it's often claimed that caffeine can increase your blood pressure. It is true, it definitely increases your blood pressure, but the effect is very small. Imagine just taking a big cup of coffee. You might increase your blood pressure by only 3 to 4 millimeters per mercury, and that usually goes away as soon as you drink the coffee. After around 10-15 minutes, it goes back to normal. So we need to understand that there are studies done that do not support the myth that we have that coffee raises the risk of heart disease. No, it does not raise the risk of heart disease. Instead, it would be actually very, very beneficial for people with or prone for heart diseases. In fact, there is some evidence that women who drank coffee have a reduced risk of heart disease. There are studies that have been done in that regard. And there are also studies that show that coffee drinkers have 20% lower risk of stroke. So if I have to summarize this, I will say coffee may cause mild increase in blood pressure, which usually diminishes over time. And coffee drinkers do not have an increased risk of heart disease, but instead they are at a lower risk of developing a stroke. And that's one good reason, again, that coffee is good for your heart. The 12th benefit of coffee is that coffee may help you live longer, and we all want to live the maximum, not because we want to experience life in that manner, but the reason is because death is experienced much better when we are very, very old. So coffee can be that sipping supplement that you take in every day that can help you reach the maximum age that you can. There were several observational studies showing that coffee drinkers have a lower risk of death. In two very large studies that were done, drinking coffee was associated with a 20% lower risk of death in men and 26% lower risk of death in women over a period of 18 to 24 years. This effect appears to be particularly strong in type 2 diabetes. So, people suffering from diabetes. In one study, the diabetics who drank coffee had 30%, 30% lower risk of death during a 20-year study period. So, if you want to live like that Japanese woman who is celebrating her 116th birthday, make sure that you don't miss your coffee. And the final and the most important thing, that coffee is the biggest source of antioxidants in the Western diet, because that's what is missing. And most of the diet across the globe has been following and trending the Western formula. And I believe that if you want all your antioxidants, your anti-aging elements in one single beverage, this is through coffee. Coffee is said to contain massive amounts of antioxidants. And there have been studies that show that most people get more antioxidant from coffee than from both fruits and vegetables combined. So, if you have to say coffee is one of the healthiest beverages on the planet, it would not be that I'm exaggerating. So, what is the thing? Why aren't we benefiting so much from coffee? The reason being, there are certain things that we are doing wrong with coffee. Primarily, one, that we are adding too much of sugar to coffee, too much of sugar. And this sugar turns the coffee, which is usually acidic, much more acidic. And so the same coffee, which was supposed to benefit you, is now going to harm you. It's going to damage your pancreas so that they don't function properly. You will have a increased sugar in your blood. It will damage your kidneys. It will affect your livers. You will gain weight. This is what coffee can do when added with sugar, too much of sugar. Second, there are people who are intolerant to lactose. So if you are not tolerant to lactose and if you're still having it with coffee, that can really be affect, the reason that you're not getting the benefits of coffee. So I always say, because when you look at milk is kind of alkaline food. It neutralizes the acid. So when you combine it with something like coffee, you're actually changing the properties of coffee itself. So I definitely recommend people to go on a coffee without milk. Third, now caffeine, that is the active ingredient within the coffee, is the reason that the coffee works like coffee. The primary active ingredient is caffeine. But caffeine, basically, if it stays in your system for long, it is the reason that it turns out to become addictive. So there are people who are addicted to coffee. That's because caffeine then becomes a part of your system, and then the demand increases and you want this again and again. And if you don't get it, you have the symptoms of withdrawal like headache, irritability, etc. So caffeine, if it's the active ingredient, we need to understand that how can I get the benefit of the caffeine without having the harmful effects of caffeine? And that is done very wisely by adding some herbs and nutrients. Like if you look at it, when you blend the coffee with herbs and mushrooms, then you're actually changing or adding value to that coffee's nutritional value. And that's done. So if you look back to history, all these beverages that we drank were infused with a lot of herbs, and this made the beverages more effective, and so they became the healing beverages that were used for healing various conditions. Now, as you see, with DXN we have followed the same tradition. We take the best of coffee beans, the Arabica coffee, and then we blend it with the amazing mushrooms, primarily the Ganoderma lucidum. Then that we have coffees with cacao. Then we have coffees with tongatali. We have with ginseng, with cordyceps, and that's how the properties are. The coffee itself becomes the medium for these mushrooms and herbs to act within your body. Now, I'm going to introduce you to some of the coffees that we have and how beneficial they are. One coffee we have is DXN Lindsay Black Coffee. Now, it has no sugar additives in it. It maintains it manages to retain your bold taste. So it is rich in, it has got the original coffee aroma in it, and it's blended with Ganoderma. And that's why primarily one of my favorites is, if you are a black coffee lover, this is the coffee that you will fall in love with, which has got Ganoderma in it. And it is one of the healing coffees that you can take if you're suffering from any of the conditions. Second, DXN Z Mocha. Now here what we have done in DXN is combined the, the coffee beans, the Ganoderma extract, and cacao powder all together, giving you a rich blend of all three amazing supplements together, like the coffee, the Ganoderma, and cacao in one single cup of coffee. And this is really tasty. It's got a creamy, sweety flavor. So people who like to have a little more tasty, creamy coffee, this is your choice that you can make if you like cacao also. Then we have the DXN Cordyceps coffee 3-in-1. It basically contains is the coffee powder added with cordyceps extract. And I'm not sure if it's available everywhere, but yes, in Europe, it's available, and you can definitely buy one. It's really amazing. Uh, it can improve your lung function. It can improve your vitality. Gives you energy. It really boosts up the functions of coffee. And with cordyceps, it's an amazing combination. Then we have another one called DXN White Coffee Zeno. Now, this is basically, a cup of hot water. You just need a cup of hot water, mix this coffee zeno into it, and you will get something like a cappuccino, DXN cappuccino. Now, this is for those people who like the creamy flavor of cappuccino. You can just, by putting hot water, instant coffee, instant cappuccino. Then you have the DXN Vita Cafe. Here, this is really powerful because it contains high quality ginseng, tongatali powder, and Ganoderma extract. Right, so people who want to try for more vitality, energy, again, this is a good combination. Then we have the DXN Civatino coffee. Now, this is ground coffee, just fermented coffee beans, 100% premium quality. And for those people who like that fermented coffee taste, this is one thing you should definitely try. It's free of animal civet coffee. So please, if I've never got a chance to taste one, but I'm super excited if I get one to taste this one. DXN U Cafe is another coffee blend with tongatali. Okay, and it basically has these combination of coffee with tongatali, so you get the benefits of tongatali in your coffee. Again, a good combination to try. If you like the taste, you can hook yourself onto it. Then we have the DXN Z Cafe Classic. Now, this is for the mild, smooth coffee taste, people who like that. Here, it's just freshly roasted coffee beans with Ganoderma, and you have an amazing another taste of coffee. Then we have the DXN Lindsay Coffee 2-in-1. Now, here 2-in-1 is basically coffee and Ganoderma. Again, a kind of a black coffee. Then we have DXN Lindsay 3-in-1 Light. Again, with a little creamy flavor. It is again, you have the Ganoderma in it, the coffee in it, and little sweetener also. So the here it's a non-dairy creamer. Okay, so it's very safe to take for people who are even allergic to lactose. So another, when I started with my journey with DXN, this was the first coffee that I liked. It's got an amazing taste, and I think everybody liked this coffee. Then you have the DXN Lindsay Coffee 3-in-1. Yeah, now with the new packaging, it is really great with Lindsay coffee. This is an amazing flavor. Again, you can try. So drink coffee and do good. That's what I say. Because coffee is amazing. Coffee is an amazing beverage if taken rightly. every day, it can really help. Have it after your meals, have it when you're with friends, have it when you're discussing something, have it when you're all alone, have it when you're stressed out. There are many reasons to sip a coffee. And with DXN, probably we have the widest range of really wellness coffees, that we can say, the blends of coffees. And we are known as the Ganoderma company, but our primary product that sells across the globe is coffee. And I am sure you all people love to have this coffee. So visit our website called www.dxntu.com, and there you'll find a lot of information. So the people who are newcomers, who don't know much about DXN, this is one website you have to visit and find out more. So again, we come to an end of the webinar on coffee, and I'm open because I can see that there are still 23 people. So people did hear me and they did see my presentation. So I'm open for any questions if anybody has, because we have time now, so we can definitely take questions for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Please note, these were the small presentations that I'm doing. I'm trying this new system, so there are times when the system doesn't help me technologically. Anybody with any questions? No questions? Okay, great. So then I should say thank you to everyone. If there are no questions, that's my email address, just in case you want to write to me your questions. I'm always happy to reply back. That's my email address. That's dr.rajeshsavera@gmail.com. And we would be any questions, any, not necessarily it's about coffee, anything about DXN, Ganoderma, anything else, you can definitely write to me. I'll be more than glad to answer them to you. So thank you all those people who were waiting till the end of this webinar, all 23 of you. Thank you so much. We had some hiccups in the initial phase, but finally I hope I was able to deliver some things to you. Thank you, Shukriya. Please keep it up. Thank you. And again, thank you, everyone.